Recording progress.
Okay, so today we have Shloka 9.17. Um, and the chapter is the hidden treasure of devotion, the most confidential knowledge. पिताहम अस्य जगतो माता धाता पितामह वेद्यं पवित्रम ओंकारा ऋक् साम यजुर एव च. So, so this chapter is where Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the supreme object of worship, the soul is eternally related to that Lord, that Supreme Godhead, Supreme Absolute Truth, Lord Krishna. Um, and this is through transcendental devotional service, bhakti. So, by reviving one's pure devotion, one returns to Lord Krishna in his spiritual realm. So, as part of that, this shloka explains how Krishna is the seed giving father, how everything is connected with him. So, okay, let's take details from His Grace Sri Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Um, he has given this wonderful explanation. Oh, 1 second. Um, are you able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, all right, all right. Fine. So, Pitaham Asya Jagato, that I am the father of this whole universe, and not only I am the father. Mata Dhata Pitahamaha, I am the mother, I am the sustainer, and I am also the grandfather. Vedyam Pavitram Omkara. It is I am the one what is to be known, and I am the sacred syllable, the pranava. Pavitram, Krishna is always pure, and only He purifies. Rig, Sama, Yajur, Evacha. I am also the Vedas, the four Vedas, Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, all the Vedas, Atharva Veda, Rig, Sama, Yajur, Evacha. Also, He is the Vedas. So, what message is being conveyed here? So, what is the connection? What is the connection here? Okay, so I think I missed the translation. One second. The entire cosmic manifestation, moving and non moving, are manifested by different activities of Lord Krishna's energy. One second. Sorry, just 1 second. So I think I missed the translation. So I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandchild. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig Sama and the Yajur Veda. Lord Krishna is the source of everything. Yeah, so we'll continue from where we left. So what message is being conveyed here? What is the connection? So His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu gives detail. So in Vishwarupa Upasana, that is in worship of the universal form of the Lord, one comes to realize, or one begins to realize, that everything in this material universe is ultimately connected with Him and is manifestation of that absolute truth. So he's the Lord is the origin of everything. He is the sustainer. So if there is any kind of manifestation, everything is being manifested from that absolute truth. And because He is the origin or source of everything, everything is actually ultimately connected with that absolute truth. So in the material existence, in this material world, we have different supports. We have different shelters. And Lord Krishna is saying that I am all of them. Let me know if this is better. Because somebody just mentioned that they are not able to hear properly. So I've just removed the speakers, the earphones, and let me know if it is audible. Is it better?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
All right. Okay. All right. Great. So in the material existence, just mention that in this material world of ours, and there are many material worlds, and it's happening in the same. It's like in just like it's happening in our material universe, in material existence of ours. It's happening in the same way in every other universe. So He's the one who is sustaining. So he's um, so we experience that we have different support system, we have different supports, we have different shelters, we have so many different relationships, and Krishna is saying that I'm all of them. So He's saying that I am the father, I am the mother, and I am the grandfather. So directly and indirectly, what this means, um, for example, some people take shelter of the demigods, but actually, it is Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is actually empowering these demigods to, He is empowering them so that they will be able to give shelter. If somebody takes indirectly shelter of Lord Krishna via the demigods, so it is He who is actually empowering them. So He is the ultimate shelter, He is the source of everything. He's 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 supporting everything in this material existence, directly or indirectly. So if somebody happens to take shelter of a guru, or in any kind of relationship, if a child takes shelter of his parents, um, or grandparents, so he is the one who's actually making arrangements for these support systems, for these supports, for these shelters. It is he. So similarly, if any ordinary person, if they are able to give shelter to other jivatmas, the original source of this is Lord Shri Krishna. So, so Prabhu emphasizes, he says that, is this to be taken literally, or is there a message behind this thing? So the point is, when we come to realize that he is the actual source of all everything, he is the one who is giving shelter. And here it is like he is giving example of, he is the father, he is the mother, and he is a grandfather. So it is he who's actually giving shelters and empowering and arranging these things. So this doesn't mean that um, other whatever relationships we have, parents, mother, father, or any kind of relationship, um, we belittle them or we disrespect them. No, it doesn't mean that. It's just that we recognize in this context that everything is actually being arranged by the Lord. He is the one who's empowering. So in this material world, there are many who help us in advancing materially and spiritually. And so for that, we are grateful to them. But we have to also recognize and understand that there is something beyond them, something superior, something supreme, and which is ultimate reality. So we are grateful to our parents and everybody or anybody who helps us in our material or spiritual progress. But here the message that Lord Krishna is conveying is that whoever gives us shelter in this material world, ultimately they are his manifestations. He is empowering them, he is arranging such relationships. It is he, Lord Krishna, who is arranging such persons or relationships in our lives as a favor and thus benefiting us so that we can ultimately progress towards him, towards the spiritual absolute truth, and come to realize that what is our relationship with him, how we are supposed to serve him, and ultimately we achieve perfection in that relationship. We achieve perfection in that service. So that is the goal. So it is he who is giving us shelter. It is Lord Krishna who is giving us love, shelter, strength, happiness through everything, mother, father, or any other relationship. Krishna is the ultimate shelter, strength, and he is the all powerful and source of all real happiness, bliss, and complete. And he is the complete and perfect knowledge. He is source of all that complete and perfect knowledge. Um, he is pure. He never comes under the influence of material energy. So he is the actual controller. He is the absolute truth. So we Jivatmas, once we take birth in this material existence, we take this material body made of three gunas. We come under the grip of this material energy, and we come under the influence of these three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Whereas Lord Krishna, he is the controller, and he is the source of everything, spiritual and material. But he is never under the influence of this material energy. So it is Lord Krishna who is giving us knowledge, who is purifying us. He is giving us these Vedas, the scriptures, and for example, he has given us this Srimad Bhagavad-gītā, and he has given us Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he has given us so many books which our Goswamis have given us. Our Goswamis has given us so many wonderful, the six Goswamis and the Guru Parampara, the Acharyas have given so many wonderful explanation of the scriptures, of the spiritual knowledge, so that we can realize the absolute truth, or we can understand our real constitutional position is that we are always servant of the supreme absolute truth, Lord Shri Krishna, and what is our relationship with him, how we are supposed to serve him. We understand what are the do's and don'ts to achieve the perfection, and so that we can one day achieve perfection and in our service, and um, achieve prema for the Lord, and finally go back home, back to Godhead. And while we are here, how to live a life um, in that performing that spiritual service, um, how we can perfect that. So ultimately everything is coming from Lord Krishna. He is the source and origin of everything. So, and everybody and everything, all Jivatmas or anybody like demigods or everything, they get their potency through him. He's the one who is empowering. So in this shloka, in this particular verse, the focus is on seeing everything as connected with that Lord, with that absolute truth, with Lord Shri Krishna. So Lord Krishna has many potencies, and he has this inconceivable potency which makes impossible possible. So there are so many things once we take this material body of these three modes of material nature, it's and we are very tiny, we are very finite, so it kind of gets very difficult um, under the influence of these three modes, that how things are happening. And so this Lord Krishna has this inconceivable potency which otherwise makes impossible possible. And when we try to realize that supreme absolute truth, so our with our tiny uh, finite infinitesimal intelligence, it kind of gets very difficult to see things how they are. But one has to have faith and understand that scriptures are always perfect, and one has to have a guru, because guru is empowered by the Lord. He is a representative of the Lord. So we can understand that truth through the words of the guru, and following his instructions and instructions of the scriptures, we can finally come to realize how things are and all the detail. So he is the spiritual infinite absolute truth, whereas we jivatmas are living entities, or living entities are very tiny, infinitesimal, and part and parcel of this infinite absolute truth. Jivatmas are always dependent on the Lord, being part and parcel of that whole absolute truth, that complete absolute truth. So we are part of that. We are part and parcel of that absolute truth. Jivatmas are non-different from that whole, that spiritual absolute truth. We are also spiritual, but we are very tiny, infinitesimal, whereas Lord Krishna is the absolute truth. He is the complete whole. He's all spiritual. And this is because part is also manifestation of the whole. And the part is qualitatively similar to the whole. Um, qualitatively, but not quantitatively. So that is the message here. And so here the thing is how, so the point is how we are, how Krishna is the source of everything, how everything is dependent on him. And so he's making all these arrangements, how everything is connected to him, how everything is related to him. That is the message being conveyed here. um, so that we'll further get more detail tomorrow. So thank you very much, Prabhuji Mataji. Thanks for joining. And if anybody has any question, please ask. Please, you may ask now. Um, okay, so looks like nobody has any questions. Um, so thank you, Prabhuji Mataji. Thanks for joining. Have a wonderful day, and please continue join.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, there is one question in the chat. Can you please check?
Okay, so Mataji has a question. What about the pain, suffering one lives is also seen as Krishna? So actually, the pain we experience in our life is because once we take this material body made of three gunas and we perform our activities under the influence of these three gunas, we know that there is goodness, passion, and ignorance. And so we are conditioned and we forget about our relationship and we move away from that perfection and we start living a life of imperfection. And while doing so, under the influence of these three modes of material nature, what we incur is ignorance. And again we take birth, we go through the cycle of birth and death, and we get further conditioned, and we are completely away from the perfect truth, that we are spiritual beings. And because of that ignorance of this illusory potency of which we call Maya or material energy, we come to experience pain and pleasure. This is what because we have incurred karma from our so many lives, and that karma means we have done some good work, piety, and we have done some sinful activities, sins, impiety, and because of that we experience pain and pleasure. So we experience suffering, and this suffering is nothing but which our mind gives us through. We know that there are three kinds of suffering. There is something we experience adi devik, adi bhautik, and adhyatmik. So there is something we experience um, from the demigods, and something we experience from what other living entities or other jivatmas give us, and something which we experience physically or mentally. So this is the suffering and happiness we experience with this material body. But once we, like in Kali Yuga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us, because in Kali Yuga the life has deteriorated to a very low level. We are so much conditioned, our soul is so much conditioned and covered in ignorance, illusory potency, and the only hope is performing Harinama or chanting the holy name of the Lord. By doing so, this illusion of Maya, which covers our mirror of the mind, will be removed or will be cleansed, and we will be able to experience bliss or happiness as we progress doing that activity. And we will be able to see our real constitutional position is that we are all spirit soul, and we are infinitesimal, and we are always dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And once we start progressing towards that life, this material illusion will be removed, this ignorance will be removed, and this suffering of induced by karma will be diminished over time if we take this path. And once this karma related suffering is removed, this pleasure and pain, we will be able to see that how we had deviated from this life, how we had deviated from experiencing this absolute truth, that we are spiritual beings, but we were living a material life and incurring karma, and under that influence we were taking birth, and we're going through birth and death again and again, and that's how the life was deteriorated. And we so right now, like, we are reading Bhagavad-gītā, and through this knowledge we can realize that we are spiritual beings, and the solution for this Kali Yuga is chanting the holy name of the Lord. So yeah, so hope I answered your question, Mataji. Is it okay? Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
So thank you, Prabhuji, Mataji. Thanks for joining. We'll meet again
Thank you,
tomorrow
Prabhu.
for
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.